Today we're going to be talking about fractions and what they are. So to start off, we're going to define what a fraction is. So I wrote down part of a whole because a fraction is when we have a whole piece of something, however we're only looking at one part of it. So for example, I have a circle here. This entire circle is my whole. We have divided our whole into 3 equal parts. 1, 2, 3. And that's very essential when looking at fractions, is that however many parts you divide it into, it must be equal. They must be equal parts. So this fraction is divided into thirds. So if we looked at this first part right here, that is 1 out of 3 pieces. So the way we would write that is 1/3. Because this small piece right here represents 1/3 of the entire whole. Now if we looked at the next piece, that is also 1/3. And then the last piece, that is also 1/3. So if we add these together, we keep our denominators the same. All we do is add the top, which is the numerator. We would get 3/3, which equals a whole because we have a whole that's divided into 3 pieces. So if we're only looking at one piece at a time, and then we add on another piece and another piece, we eventually will have 3 pieces of our whole, which is 3/3 or 1 whole. Like I said, it's very essential to remember that. This is a whole divided into equal parts. So we're going to have a word problem, and we're going to use this word problem to help us work with fractions a little bit more. We're going to solve the word problem with 2 different methods. The first method that we're going to use is called an area model. So first I'm just going to write down the problem, introduce it, and then we'll take a look at what an area model is. So for our word problem, Rachel has 8 pieces of candy. If she wants to eat 1/4 of her candy each day, how many pieces of candy can she eat a day? So here's our word problem. Now, when you're using an area model, you have a physical representation of an area, of an amount. So just like this right here could be an example of an area model, like we were using before, because we have an area or an amount, and then we divided that area into equal parts. So to look at this problem, we need to focus on what fraction are they providing us with. So the fraction they've given us is she wants to eat 1/4 of her candy. So we know that she has a total of 8 pieces. She wants to eat 1/4 of the candy a day. So how many pieces of candy does that mean she can eat a day? So what the question is really asking us is, what is 1/4 of 8? That is our main question that we need to solve. So to figure this out, we can use an area model that will help us. So I first have an area model of a whole divided into 4 equal parts, because our fraction is 1/4, which means that our whole is divided into 4 equal parts. So we want to know what is 1/4 of 8. So since we're only looking at 1/4, that means we're only going to be looking for what is one part of this. How many is that equivalent to in a whole that is divided into 8 equal pieces? So if we have another whole that is divided into 8 equal pieces, we can compare what the equivalent amount would be for 1/4 to a whole divided into 8 pieces. And also we have to make sure that these are the same size. That's very important when you're looking at area models, is that they're the same size. You don't want to use a small area model with a larger one because that's not the same whole. That's not the same size whole. So to do this, one thing we can do is we can compare them. So to do this, I've just cut slits in these circles. And we want to see how much of a whole divided into 8 parts equals 1/4 of a whole divided into 4 parts. So if we take our part that's divided into 4 parts, and we just place behind it the one that's divided into 8 parts and see how many parts make up 1/4. Well, we can see here that 2 parts of the whole divided into 8 pieces make up 1/4 of the whole divided into 4 pieces. So we could write that down as 2/8 equals 1/4. Because as we just showed here with our area model, 2 pieces of a whole divided into 8 pieces is equivalent to 1 part of a whole divided into 4 pieces. So to answer the question, what is 1/4 of 8? We have our equivalent fraction right here. 1/4 of 8 would be 2. So our answer would be 2 pieces a day. So now that was the area model. Now we're going to use a different model to solve this. So for the next model we're going to use, this one is called a number line model. Now with a number line, it is kind of similar to the number line that you would draw on a piece of paper. However, our number lines are organized into different amounts. So since we're looking at 1/4, we have a number line that is divided into 4 pieces. Just like the area model, this represents a whole divided into equal parts. So we have one whole right here, where if you could compare it to this. This piece right here is one whole. We have taken that whole and divided it into 4 equal parts. So we want to know how much, what is 1/4 equivalent to out of 8? So if we take that same whole and we divide it into 8 parts, if we look where our mark is for 1/4, we can see that it lines up with the mark for 2/8. And we know this because this is 1/4, this is 1/8, this is 2/8. So we could write that the same way that we wrote with our last model. We can write that 1/4 is equal to 2/8. So again, like we said, the answer would be that she could have 2 pieces of candy a day. So, just to review, our basic definition of a fraction is a whole that is divided into equal parts. We have to emphasize that they have to be equal parts. They can't be different sized pieces, or else that's not dividing it properly. And then when we look at one part, we would know this as 1/3 because it is one piece out of 3 pieces. If I was looking at this area model and I pointed out one piece, That is 1/8 because it is one piece out of 8 pieces. So, and then just to review, going over the number line, we have a whole, and then we take that whole and we can divide it equally again into more parts. So here I've divided it into 4 parts. And then we can also take that whole and divide it even further if we would like. We could divide it into 8 parts, and then we can compare what is equivalent. We can compare what is 1/4 equal to, or what is 2/4 equal to, what is 3/4 equal to, and what is 4/4 equal to. And we can just look at where do the lines match up.